Good morning, dear students, and welcome to lecture 3 and the second part of semantics. As we said that with semantics, we are dealing with the conceptual meaning, and we talked about different approaches of analyzing conceptual meaning of words, like the container approach and the semantic relation approach, and we talked about lexical relations. And with lexical relations, we said something about synonyms, and we said that with synonyms we have two forms with closely related meanings, but not always substitutable. And we talked about antonyms with where two forms of words they having opposite meanings, and we said that there are two different types of antonyms: gradable and non-gradable. We said that with the gradable antonyms, adjectives are usually used in comparative constructions, and the opposite of one of them usually does not imply the other. With the non-gradable one, here they are not used in comparisons because, for example, the adjective dead, as we said, we cannot say somebody is deader than someone else, and the negative of one implies the other, as for example when you say my parents are not alive. When you talk about antonyms, you need to learn something about metaphors, so this is your assignment. You need to know what's the difference between antonyms and metaphors and converses. So I'll be writing the assignment here. Metaphor versus antonyms, and we say about converses and antonyms. So you need to make sure you need to learn the difference between these terms. Okay, any idea what metaphors are? Then you might again, it's a kind of a relationship. You use a word based on similarity, resemblance of a certain context. So for example, when you say somebody is made of a glass, means that he is easily broken, fragile, emotionally fragile. So here, for example, with the reverses, again, for example, you say enter and exit, pack and unpack. So you need to pay attention to these terms, as they are very, critical in understanding antonyms. Okay, another semantic relation is that of hyponymy. Here we've got the meaning of one word, the meaning of a word is included in the meaning of another. For example, when you say what's a flower or what's a rose, it's a flower. And carrot is a type of vegetable. And you can say a nightingale is a bird. So the concept here we've got the meaning of a bird is included in the meaning of animal, for example, or for example, carrot is included in the meaning of vegetables. So here we've got the inclusion here is the idea that, for example, if an object is a rose, then it's a flower, and the meaning of the flower is included in the meaning of a rose. So rose here is a hyponym of flower. Talking about hyponymous connection, we are looking at the meaning of words in some type of hierarchical relations. So because, for example, if you look at these parts, you see we've got living objects, creatures, and plants. And we've got, with the creatures, we've got animal, birds, and insects. And with animals, we've got dog, horse. Again, different other types, of course. And with birds, we have parrot, a duck, right? And we've got ant and cockroach as hyponyms of insects. So here, the relationship between these words is represented in this hierarchical diagram. And if you look at the diagram here, you can say that horse is a hyponym of an animal. And if you see here that the animal and insect, and if, for example, cockroach and cockroach and horse are the, they are traced back to, for example, insects and animal. So here animals and insects are considered the superordinate, that is the higher level. These are the superordinate terms that are included, whose meaning is included in the meaning of dog and insect. So we can say that the two or more words that share the same superordinate terms are cohyponyms. So horse and insects, horse and parrot are cohyponyms. Their superordinate terms are insects, birds, and animal. Okay. The relationship here, the relation of hyponymy here, captures the idea that horse is a kind of animal, ant is a kind of insect, and here we give the meaning of the word by specifying what type it is. Sometimes the only thing we know about the meaning of a word is that it's a hyponym of something else. So it's that's a way of dealing with the meaning. So this, we may know nothing more about the meaning of a word. For example, let's say parakeet, for example, let's say, but we know that it's a kind of a bird, but we don't have any other information. So here it's not always words for things that are hyponyms. So for example, we've got punch, shoots, stabs, that describing actions. All these can be treated as hyponyms, for example, of superordinate term injure. So with this section, you need to make sure to differentiate between superordinate term and cohyponym. So if you say here's the superordinate term for, for dog and ant are cohyponyms, and they are traced back to the superordinate term creature. So these are critical terms you need to make sure they comprehend. Okay, but what is a prototype? Prototype, ladies, is that when you start to link the meaning of a word to other object that it resembles, but it's not entirely the same. So, for example, you can say penguin. It looks like a bird, but it's not a bird, right? Or maybe, for example, you've got an instance where it is characteristic of a category. So you explain the meaning of a word in terms of resemblance to the clearest example. So, for example, if you look at penguins and ostriches, you think of them as types of birds. But sparrow and pigeons are hyponyms, and there are words whose categorization are treated, of course, differently due to different contexts. Pair resembling or representing lexical relations consists of homophones and homonyms. With homophones here, we've got different written forms. They are words, for example, written differently, but they have the same pronunciation, like meat and meat, flour. But you see, they have same pronunciation, but they are spelled differently. And homonyms, when one form, written or spoken, has two unrelated meaning. So when we talk about bank of a river or bank as a financial institution, maybe we talk about a flying creature like bat, and you've got the same word used in sport. And you might have a mole on your skin, and a mole can be like a tiny animal. You may talk of a pupil at school and a pupil in your eye. So here, the temptation here is to think that the two types of bank must be related in meaning, but in fact they are not. So the homonyms, on the other hand, have different histories and different entries, but actually they came to have exactly the same form. By the way, these words have, they play or these relations, they can be drawn upon to draw comic effect for certain words. For example, I'll be giving you example where you have these terms, homonyms and homophones, or all these lexical relations, where they are producing comic effect in jokes, in for example, in certain photos or misunderstandings. And we will be doing that kind of a practice while we have our Google Meet, because this lecture is only theoretical part, and we will be dealing with much more practicality in the next couple of weeks. And then and the last one, which is we've got the polysemy, and here we've got same form, written and spoken, but we've got but its meaning is extended. For example, we've got the head, the top of a department, the top of a body, or the top of the froth on the top of a glass. And maybe you say you talk of the foot of a bed or of a mountain. So here the meaning is essentially based on the similarity. So relatedness here of meaning, we see that how can we, when we talk about these words, for example, if you are not sure what the different uses of a single word are examples of homonyms or polysemies, how can we decide that this is homonymy or polysemy? The key is very simple, is that if a word has multiple meanings, then there will be single entry and a numbered list of the different meanings. But if they are homonyms, then they will have separate entries. So that will make, if you open the dictionary and you find one single entry with different meanings, then it is polysemy. If two different entries, then the dictionary is treating them as homonyms. So yes, it's sometimes possible for terms or for forms to be distinguished for one of the forms that to have like various uses via polysemy. For example, we've got date. The word date here you can think of it as something we can eat, or it might be a point in time, or it might be, referring to a person, to the person you are in love with, or you are trying to, to get involved in a kind of effort. So the word date here, it's nowadays its meaning is extended to refer to even to people. So when you say how was your date, it means how was your appointment, or how was your date. It's the first time you met, and you need to for your interlocutors to describe the person he met. So different interpretation can be attached based on to a certain word based on these kind of lexical relations. And I said we will have comic effects involved in these relations. For example, it happens that sometimes when a person says Mary had a little lump, and we know what's little lump, everybody knows that rhyme. But for example, the comic version involves she had a little, thinking of lump as a meat to be eaten. So, and some rice and vegetables. So it's producing a comic effect. And of course, there are lots of riddles, jokes where these lexical relations are drawn upon in order to make them the identification of their roles of these words funny. And the last relation is metonymy. Yes, this is kind of, it's a kind of different types of relations involved in one lexical relation. So maybe you can think of words as containing something when you say bottle and water, car and wheels. So when we say he drank the whole bottle, literally, he didn't drink the bottle, he drank the water inside the bottle. Or it can have the representative symbol relationship. For example, the king, when we say the king, so every king wears a crown, and every president, American president, lives in the White House. So when you say the White House announced, it's the president announcement. Something similar is when we talk about the middle voice. When you say I was boiling a kettle, of course you're not boiling the kettle, you are boiling the water inside the kettle. And when you talk about, you say I'm filling the car, it means that you are filling the container of the gas container. And when you say I'm answering the phone or answering the door, all these are examples of metonymy. So what makes us able to understand these terms? It is the familiarity with metonymy, the familiarity with the context where drinking water occurs. Of course, we know that the bottle is not a liquid and it's not be drunk. So, and we will infer that the content, the liquid inside the bottle, is the entity that received the action of drinking. Although literally it's absurd, but it makes sense. So several other examples are, highly conventionalized and easy to interpret because this is something that we acquire as we, interact with the environment. So, and of course, different examples, several examples, you might have lots of examples, but all of them, depend on your ability to infer what the speaker has in mind. And making sense of such expressions, as I said, with linguists, you depend wholly on the context. So making sense of such expressions like these depends highly on context, on background knowledge, on inference, which are some things that we will be talking about in the next chapter. So it might be useful for you to start looking for these terms from now. Okay. We've got another relation, which I may not say that these are lexical relations, but because we are not dealing with how the meaning is related. We are dealing with the instances where certain words tend to co-occur with like a group of words that are, only with specific types of words. For example, like co-occurrences where, for example, when you say cup and coffee, we always expect that cup of something, cup of coffee, cup of tea, so coffee is always, we always think that coffee co-occurs with cup. We always think of bread to co-occur with butter. These are called collocations, words frequently occurring with each other. And we know, as it's known, that words are known by the company they keep. Sometimes the meaning of the word does not have the meaning of the dictionary. The context does not assign the meaning of a dictionary to a word because the surrounding words affect its meaning, causing it to mean something else. And this is one of the points highlighted, one of the tools highlighted in corpus linguistics. By the way, please go and search for the term corpus linguistics and try to understand what it means. And I'll simplify things for you. It's, a set of data kept digitally, and you can use for analyzing and studying language. And through the tools of corpus linguistics, one of the tools is collocation, where you study the significance or the saliency of co-occurrence between two words. And for example, as I said, it's the surrounding words that attach a meaning to. But for example, the meaning of true here. True feeling. If you read these examples, you see true feelings, yes, they co-occur together. But what does it mean? True. Is it always true? If you look here, more accustomed to denying our true feelings, avoiding reflection and self, communicate true feelings, express true feelings, deny. You see, you feel that the true feelings is always related to the difficulty of expression, difficulty of communication. So it's hard, it's hidden, as if when you come, when these two words co-occur together, and they tend to co-occur with words like communicate, express, these words, denying, try to communicate, ability to express, suggest difficulty of expressions, of expressing true feelings. So they're not always the true feelings. So here, as if you feel that the word means the opposite, because it has to do with, the semantic relation that exists between the node of the word, the node, I mean, true feelings, and the verb expression, or denying expression, trying to communicate, ability. All of these show that to you that it's hard to express. So it's not always something that could be explicit. Going to the assignment now, as we reach to the end of this chapter, please review the chapter carefully, preparing the following. We'd like you to have examples of lexical relations, one for for homonyms, homophones, polysemies, all of them. Try to find instances, and I'd like to have to listen to your examples and know what they are. And I'd like you to write sentences of your own, or you choose them in books or articles, and you assign the semantic role for every sentence involved, for every word in the sentence. And please look for tools of corpus linguistics, and let's say something about these. I'd like you to have a kind of a simple information about corpus linguistics and its tools. We will be discussing your assignments through Google Meet. So please make sure that you keep, following our lecture, so you will not miss Google Meet lecture. And after reviewing your chapter, please do the study questions. And again, this is in the task. This is something that we will be discussing during our Google Meet session. Thank you very much, and good luck. Bye.